So is the Skyflow a cheaper version of the Skyward X? Is it the training version of the Skyward X? Shoe comparison I got for you guys today. So we've got the HOKA Skyward X up against the HOKA Skyflow. So some would probably say that this is the little brother of the Skyward X. So we go through their similarities, their differences and their key features, and hopefully from that, that's going to give you guys a great indication of choosing which shoe's right for you. But before we get into it, a big shout out to my #1 running store, the Running Company at Geelong. I've got a link to their website in the description. Make sure you go check out that and check out all their running gear. And also guys, if you haven't done so already, and if you want to support the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And with our quick specs, so both road running shoes. Now the HOKA Skyward X is certainly a neutral running shoe, but the Skyflow has got some stability elements inside it, which I'll go through later. Now with the price, massive difference there. Is that warranted? Well, we'll find out later. And in the weight, you can't really tell that weight difference in the shoe, especially when you wear them both at the same time. But I tell you what you can tell, and that is the difference in the stack height. You feel much higher off the ground in the Skyward X. So there's lots of differences between these two shoes, and it certainly starts at the upper. So with our Skyflow, material that they use here is called a Creel Jacquard mesh. Now it's certainly like a tight woven standard engineered mesh, or that's sort of what it feels like. It doesn't feel as premium as what you're going to find in the Skyward X, but breathability in this shoe is not too bad. Solid heel counter at the back, so it's got like a hard cap in there which you can feel. A little Achilles flare here and a pull tab. Probably a medium amount of padding around the heel collar, but we've got pretty much a plush, puffy tongue. So lots of padding there, and our tongue is gusseted. Yeah, I can feel that there. Laces, now they've got these pretty thick laces, and they feel a little bit cheap if you ask me, but I've had no issues with the lacing system. They haven't come undone. They're just a little bit thick. Lockdown in the shoe, no issues whatsoever. Now the fit, true to size in the length, but again, it's HOKA. It is a narrow fit, so certainly a narrow in the width around the toe box, but where you do feel that it's also narrow, and it's also through the midfoot, so especially through this medial side, you can sort of feel that all this medial side of the shoe is sort of pushing your shoe up, so there's a little bit of a stability element in here, just supporting that arch in that medial side of the shoe. Build quality, not too bad, and stepping comfort, again, yeah, it's okay, but not amazing. But in the Skyward X, so what they use here for their material is a flat knit, and it does feel a lot more premium than the cheaper mesh in the other shoe. But similarity here, we've got a really solid heel counter at the back, so it's a plastic hard cap, just like the Skyflow. We've got a higher Achilles flare in here, but we've probably got a little bit less padding around the heel collar. But we've got a plush padded tongue, just like the Skyflow, but you don't have a gusseted tongue inside this one. Now lacing system as well is slightly different. So we've just got the standard lacing system at the bottom, but then it sort of goes into this midfoot strap system that it's got higher up on the foot. That does a pretty good job to lock the foot down. The lockdown in the shoe, not a problem at all. In the fit, I'm going to say true to size in the length and in the width. So as I said before, HOKA does usually come up narrow, but this one doesn't. I don't have the issue with this shoe. So I'm going to say width normal for the Skyward X, but narrow in the Skyflow. So it's probably the best fitting true to size HOKA I think that's on the market. Build quality, excellent for this shoe, and stepping comfort, it's a lot better than what you're going to find in the Skyflow. And in our outsole, so both look pretty different, but there are some little similarities with the design at the bottom of the shoe. First and foremost is just where this little rubber segment comes down in the middle of the shoe under the forefoot there. So that's similar, and then they've got these two channels that sort of run down in the shoe and run down into like a cavity in the middle of the shoe. So just trying to create some bounce with the rest of the shoe. The cavity in the Skyward X is obviously much deeper than what you're going to find in the Skyflow. You can actually see the exposed carbon plate and the super foam in the bottom of this cavity. But you've just got a bit of a decouple groove in the Skyward X. Apart from that, there's not too many similarities between these two shoes. They probably do use the same rubber compound, so that high abrasion rubber. Now I did take the Skyflow out for a spin in some pretty wet conditions this morning, and it did struggle on some of those wet roads, so I did get a fair bit of slippage. But overall though, on most surfaces, this high abrasion rubber it actually performs quite good. And in the durability department, well, this rubber actually holds up quite well in comparison to some of the competitors out there. So overall, not too much differences between these two outsoles. And in our midsole, so some big differences here. So with the Skyflow, a pretty simple design, so just one big slab of their supercritical EVA. Now, I'm not too sure if it's the exact same formulation of what they use in the Max 6, because it certainly feels a lot different underfoot. Now, they've done some clever molding and stuff with the midsole, and they've got some stability elements within the shoe, and they've got a heel-focused foot frame at the back just to hold it steady. But you can certainly feel that when you do run. It certainly feels like there is some stability elements in it, especially along that medial side of the shoe. But no plate in the shoe, so rigidity-wise, it's still pretty rigid, but nice little flex point there just under the toes, just where most shoes have that. But yeah, it's pretty solid left and right. So again, yeah, stability elements in the shoe. Now, geometry-wise, they say that this shoe shares or it was inspired by the geometry of the Skyward X. Do I think it's the same? No, I don't. It doesn't feel anything like it in the geometry department, but we do have a little bit of a forefoot rocker here. So this one really reminds me of just the same geometry of what you're going to find in the Clifton, so that early stage meta rocker. So it's just enough to take any slappiness out of the ride. Now, all the tech is certainly pumped into the Skyflow of what's going into this midsole. So one of the most complicated midsoles I think that's on the market. So we've got dual density foam, so two different types of foam. So we have got a footbed, so the internal footbed of the shoe is of their PBA super foam. So their racing foam they use in all their racing shoes, so that exciting foam. And that from there, it's housed in a super critical EVA foam, like a carrier foam that just sort of holds it all together and sort of adds some durability to the shoe. So I'm not sure if the supercritical EVA frame is the same as what they use in the Skyflow. Certainly got the same name, but again, it still feels, the feedback is still quite different. Now within these foams, so under that PBA super foam and in between that carrier foam, they've got a H-shaped carbon plate. So it's obviously giving the shoe some rigidity, making it nice and solid here, which it certainly is. But because it's not in a standard shape of a normal carbon plate, it actually lets this carbon plate flex in certain points of the shoe. And they say it's a bit of a suspension system with the bottom of the shoe. Can I really feel that suspension system as I run? Not really. It just feels still quite like a rigid shoe. But yeah, very, very stable. So left and right, not too much moving here. But rigidity-wise with that carbon plate, this is a very, very stiff shoe. Now, geometry-wise, in comparison to the Skyflow, so that this was meant to have inspired, the geometry is meant to be inspired by this shoe, where this shoe's forefoot rocker is much more evident and it's much more late in the shoe. So it's quite late, especially when this is more like a jogging shoe. Jogging shoes usually like to have the rockers a little bit further back, but not this one. It's a little bit late, but you still can feel it when you're jogging along. But yeah, you can feel it much more in this shoe, and it is much more aggressive than the Skyflow. And in our ride, so two very different experiences here. Now with the Skyflow, so my opinion has changed with this shoe. So I know my first impressions, I said, yeah, it's okay, like it's not too bad, it's soft, but it's got a little bit of magic to it. I don't know what it was, but it had a little bit of zap to it. Well, I don't feel that zap in this shoe anymore. So I'm not too sure where that little bit of sprinkle of magic went with it, but it's gone. Now it definitely just feels like a standard old daily trainer that's got a lot of cushion underneath it. So there's not too much magic going on with it. There's not too much excitement about it. Yes, it's highly cushioned. Is it soft? Well, I don't think it's as soft as when it come out of the box. So I think it's sort of flattened out just a little bit. I can certainly feel the stability elements in it, so it does feel like it is giving me a little bit too much correction on the medial side, which I'm not too fond of. So I'm struggling to enjoy all my runs in the Skyflow at the moment, but yeah, it's protected, slightly rocket, but feels much more traditional. But yeah, very, very stable ride, and it really does just remind me of one of the old Clifton. So I think it was the Clifton, I can't even remember the name of it, but it reminds me of a Clifton, say about 4 years ago. Same sort of ride, but just with a little bit more stability. So I know that they got the Arahi, but yeah, I don't know what's going on with the Skyflow in the ride, and actually where it actually fits in the HOKA family. But yeah, it's got daily trader vibes. It's okay. There's nothing really bad about it. There's nothing really great about it. It's just a bit of a boring daily trainer. Now, Skyward X. So again, my opinions certainly have shifted when I first tested this shoe up until the full review and even to now. So this shoe is actually growing on me. I like it more and more the more I run in it. It gets softer, it gets bouncier, and I'm just enjoying the ride. So this one, yes, it is soft, but not overly soft and squishy. So I actually don't sink too far into this foam. The rebound is quite quick, but not a super responsive rebound. But it's certainly it's got a lot quicker rebound out there. Say when you're comparing it up against like the Nova Blast 5 or a Zoom X or something like that. So less squish, slightly quicker rebound in that. But what you get out of this shoe, so the more you put into this shoe, the more you get out of it. So you put more force into it, you put more speed into it, and the bouncier and more responsive and more fun that it does get. So I think it certainly feels better at steady paces, much more than it does just jogging along, because you can really use this geometry as well. When you just pick up the pace just slightly, you just can start utilizing this rocker. But yeah, it's a really fun ride, nice and bouncy, pretty stable as well. But what you need to worry about with this shoe is because it's got such a high platform and these sidewalls are pretty stiff as well, if you do catch it wrong, it's easy to roll you. Once you're over the point of no return, it's a big fall down, and I've actually done it a couple of times in this shoe. So stick to your even surfaces with this shoe. And best use, so with the Skyflow, so as I just said it before in the ride, so it's your daily trainer. So this one's just going to be the workhorse shoe out of your rotation. Nothing special about it. It's just going to eat up the daily miles. So good for your jogging days. Can you do workouts in it? Well, it is a bit of a lighter shoe, but it still feels a bit too big and a bit too cumbersome for me to use for workouts. Long runs as well. It's probably just not exciting enough for me to hit a long run. So very, very safe shoe, very stable shoe. But yeah, I like a little bit of excitement in my long run shoe, so I'm going to avoid that one in the Skyflow. In the Skyward X though, what do we got here? So easy days, yes. Recovery days, yes. Long runs, yes. And this one can probably go up to about that tempo pace, so around that marathon pace. I think that's where its limit is. It's certainly not a super fast shoe because it's just so big and bulky, but it can certainly get up to that marathon pace and hum along quite nicely. So now we've got two shoes in this new HOKA lineup. So is it the Sky series? So I'm not too sure where they're going with it and what these two shoes are meant to complement with each other. So is the Skyflow a cheaper version of the Skyward X? Is it the training version of the Skyward X? I'm not convinced because it doesn't feel to me anything like the Skyward X. Is it meant to be a Skyward X without the carbon plate? When this is not a race shoe anyway, this is a training shoe, so why do you have a training shoe to support the other training shoe? I'm not sure. It really just feels like it's a Clifton with some of those minor stability elements in it. But why do they create this shoe when the Clifton's got the Arahi already? So I'm a little bit lost of where the Skyflow fits, because for me it doesn't resemble the Skyward X at all. But anyway, guys, interested to hear your thoughts, and if you've got any insight that you want to add, just put it in the comments below. Love reading those. Any questions you've got between these two shoes, just let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.